This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
99X, it's the Morning X. Barnes and Leslie about to get into an interview that you're only going to get part of. You're not going to get the whole thing, and there's a reason why.
I don't know what you're talking about, Barnes.
We are going to have a very prolific artist on who is very well known. At least if you don't know his name, you know his art because it's all over the place in Atlanta. And his name is Vayne, and he is very elusive, and for a reason, because some people may be adoring fans, but some people may be the police, and they may want to say, you can't do that. So we have agreed to disguise his voice. So what you're hearing, he's not just like some dude with a weird voice. It's disguised on purpose so we can keep his anonymity. So please welcome to the show, Vayne. Hey, man, how are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
We're great.
Doing very, very good. I heard you were a 99Xer.
I was.
And you're not now?
No, not so much. I don't listen that much to the radio anymore.
Well, let's change that, Vayne.
Yeah, maybe I should get back into it.
I think you should. I think you should, because we just came back, so you're not that late.
Hell yeah.
It really is cool to meet you because I'm so fascinated with street art and graffiti, and I'm really just curious about how you got started.
Well, I mean, I've always been writing my name on things since I was like a little kid. And then I saw somebody do it with a spray can one time, and it just kind of all clicked. And yeah, I've been doing it probably since high school.
How do you, deal with, the line is very blurred, like I mentioned in the intro, between vandalism and artistry. And I would think there has to be, there can't be really fear because that would affect your work. But when you're in the middle and your things are not small, so when you're putting something on something, what is your mindset? Do you have an escape route? How do you go about it?
It's a great question.
Yeah, sometimes I do have an escape route. Other times, you kind of got to roll the dice. I try not to roll the dice that much these days, and I try to be more meticulous in my plans. But, there is an element of fear behind it, but there's also an element of excitement and, also being strategic about things. I use a lot of caution, and I use a lot of planning.
What does your family think about this? I'm always curious about people's families, whether it's, parents or siblings or whatever.
Well, they hated it for a really long time.
Wow.
Obviously, I was in and out of jail a lot for it. But I guess the more I started taking the fine art stuff serious, and the more I started traveling the world and getting paid for it, and doing movie sets or jobs or whatever, my family started to turn around, and now they're all big supporters of it.
How do you decide, what and where you're going to create? Where does that inspiration and creative process start? Because there's multiple steps, I would think, between finding a location, deciding what goes at that location, and then executing it.
Yeah, I guess for me, finding the spot is one of my favorite things about graffiti. It's how to make something that, maybe it goes unrecognizable every day to the average person. But once you paint your name there, it's boom, there it is. It's kind of it's an advertisement. It's a billboard. Right. It's a way to get the public's attention, and I always go for those types of spots. I try not to blend in with other people's graffiti. I try to stand out, and I just want the average person to be oh, yep, there he is. I wonder what that is. What does that mean? I want them to question it. I like it to draw questions.
Well, those things that you mentioned, advertisements and billboards, we have none of those. So if you're ever inspired to put The Morning X with Barnes and Leslie, go for it. We completely give brand approval. Just FYI, Vayne. FYI.
Yeah, maybe I can make that happen.
Please.
Yeah, he sounded really serious about that, Barnes. We're talking to Vayne. Vayne, we have him in the Witness Protection Program. Vayne is an elusive, infamous graffiti artist, of course, from Atlanta. I want to ask you this because you are considered a master of this art form. Is there a committee or, someone out there who actually grades graffiti artists?
I mean, there is the upper echelon to graffiti, and that involves a lot of the pioneers who either started like right at the beginning or in the first couple of decades of it. I have been recognized by some of those groups of people. I'm in a crew called MSK, which is Mad Society Kings. It's notably probably the best graffiti crew in the world, and just being accepted in that and being accepted among those people as my peers, that kind of shows the graffiti world where I stand at. Now, as far as the fine art world, that's a whole different ball game. But yeah, I mean, I do get recognition from art critics and people like that. So I'm not just saying I'm the best for no reason.
Like who inspired you in the early days? I mean, was it like someone like Banksy? I mean, is it something that the anonymity was interesting to you? I just throw that out there because obviously he's a big deal. But is that something that inspired you to go this route of being this anonymous artist?
I mean, Banksy's cool and all, but no, the reason why I'm anonymous is just, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And to last long in this game, you don't want to get arrested. The times I did go to jail when I was a kid, they didn't know who I was. But by the time I got good, everybody knows who I am, and I want to keep that identity, separate from it, who I am as the actual, person in society. But the people who inspired me are my crew, the people that I'm down with now, which is MSK. And, looking up to these guys, it's basically like looking up to the Yankees or the Atlanta Braves when you're growing up, and then by the time it's time for you to get drafted, they draft you. It's like getting struck by lightning. It's a really rare occurrence in the graffiti world.
But the weird thing, Vayne, is that street art is so temporary. So that, does that impermanence, influence how you approach what you're going to do? I mean, you could come back tomorrow and it's sprayed over or gone. Does that bum you out, or do you just onward?
So, it's a double-sided coin. I do look for longevity spots. I look for what I like to call forever spots. Obviously nothing lasts forever, but in the graffiti world, 10 years is forever. And also hitting spots that are just so jarring to people and embedding that and impressing to people's minds, that's also like a forever type of thing to me. I know that's kind of short-sighted because, in 100 years, who am I going to be?
Yeah.
And that's why I've currently been working in bronze. I've been making bronze statues, sculptures, stuff like that. And that's kind of what I want to start leaning more in towards. Stuff that can't be destroyed, stuff that can't get painted over.
Yeah.
People always describe you as elusive and infamous, but your work is incredible. We're talking to Vayne, graffiti artist. If someone listening now has not seen your work, is there a place, a website they can go to, a social media site?
No, so I do have a social media. It's bucket_head77. You can find me there, or you can just see me in the streets. I'm based out of Atlanta, but I do travel all over the world, and I go to all the major cities in the U.S. And also Cat Eye Creative Gallery in downtown Atlanta.
What's the strangest surface that you've ever painted on?
That's a good question. Let me think about that for a second.
I mean, like glass or...
I've painted on glass. I think the most interesting surface I've ever painted on was covering the entire top of the Freedom Parkway Bridge. It's probably about a football field and a half long, and it took me about 8 days, and you can see it from the airplanes when you're flying into Atlanta.
That's so cool.
What is next for you? I'm sure you have some goals of, I've never done this before, or I want to go to this place. Do you have goals or just like a hit list?
So the goals kind of come to me, when they come to me. I am working on a few big things. I kind of have to keep those under wraps right now.
Obviously. Yeah.
But I got some big things planned for the future. I really want to stand out in this game, and I want to kind of pave my own lane like a lot of my mentors have before me. And to do that, I have to do really unique things. But I do have some big projects coming on that, involve a couple different continents.
How many people do you take out with you when you decide to go put something out there, Vayne? How big is your crew with you?
I mean, a lot of the times I paint solo, to be honest.
Wow. No one's helping with gear or with paint or...
Sometimes. So when I'm doing really big projects, I'll have a couple people that are really close to me. You know?
Yeah.
They may have to help me pull up some buckets of paint, or they may have to get on the headphones and watch out for the police.
Love that.
You know, there's things like that. You know, we take precaution in what we do, but I usually like to go out solo. That's my thing. And then if I do take a partner to go, like, you know, street bombing or something like that, I'll take one person with me, and, you know, we kind of watch each other's backs or take turns and stuff like that.
So cool. In the Witness Protection Program, that is Vayne. I know you don't do many interviews, so thank you for coming on the Morning X. And if there's ever anything you have going on you want us to plug, please reach out.
Yeah,
we'll hook you up.
Thank you.
All right, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. That is Vayne, and that, again, his voice is disguised to keep his anonymity. This is the Morning X, and this is 99X.
Everyone knows that it's playoff time for football, but did you know football is a conspiracy to sell food? Mean Joe Green likes a certain brand of soda.
With a smile.
Troy Polamalu uses a certain kind of shampoo. That Justin Tucker is a trained opera singer. We can't guarantee that you'll learn all this by listening to the Jim Rowe Show podcast, but you will definitely be well informed on the latest takes on the playoffs, coach hirings, and the draft. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.